While President Trump has confirmed that he'd like to keep the U.S. government involved with Fannie and Freddie, and that's a big deal, we still have no details on sort of the contours of the guarantee, and the way that that plays out eventually could have an impact on the mortgage market.
Ben, tell us, just refresh our memory, because I'm going to speak for everyone in our audience. I have no idea how this ownership thing is of Fannie and Freddie. Can you just refresh who owns what and what's President Trump thinking about here?
Yeah, so the federal government owns a senior class of shares that has varying sort of levels of valuation applied to it, but it's probably worth hundreds of billions of dollars. And then the federal government also owns warrants to purchase 79.9% of the common stock. And so the remaining common stock still trades, but it has no voting power, and it has limited sort of economic claims on the businesses.
So if that's the case, like, what would ownership or still a backstop by the government to Fannie, but public ownership mean? Like, what is that? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, so the way the companies are governed right now, something called the Preferred Stock Purchase Agreement is in place. That dates back to 2008. And there's still about $270 billion of liquidity that Treasury has pledged to the enterprises. Individually, actually, so there's different amounts pledged to each company. So presumably what the president is talking about is maintaining the PSPA guarantees, but charging the enterprises some sort of fee in exchange for that liquidity going forward.
So, Ben, as a citizen and a taxpayer, I don't think I want my government really in the loan business to this degree. So don't people want them to get out of this business, sell down?
It's interesting. So Fannie and Freddie actually work extremely well under the status quo. In some ways, I think you might want the government to be in this business. If you look across the globe, the U.S. is really the only country that has this level of liquidity in the mortgage market. The 30-year fixed rate note is something of a unique sort of financial instrument available to U.S. home buyers, and as a result, U.S. home ownership rates are higher than many other nations across the globe. So there is a reason for the U.S. government to be involved, but to your point, they shouldn't be too involved. And we learned that lesson in 2008. And that was actually, so it's interesting, the president tweeted he wanted to keep the implicit guarantee, which is what existed prior to 2008, when basically everyone agreed that Treasury would be on the hook if something happened. We saw that something did happen and Treasury was on the hook. So I think what people would like to see going forward is the government sort of set some strong guardrails around this and say, we're going to backstop this, but only in a very sort of narrow, explicit way.